Hey everyone. Hello. Hey everyone. Welcome back to Daska Discusses. I don't know what happened there. Yes. What are we doing today? What am I doing today? Well, I'm going to be talking about Squid Game. The huge show that has taken the world by storm. What, number one in 90 countries? This is it, guys. A breakdown of the season. I'm just sharing everything to social media, so one sec. Hey guys. I'm talking about Squid Game. Join the live feed. Alright, so just sharing everything out there. Just bear with me, guys, if you're there. Alright, so how is everyone going? Well, let's have a look, shall we? Alright. Just sharing everything. Here we go. Okay, guys. Let's get into this, shall we? Firstly, let's talk about it. Squid Game. Wowee. What a show. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, but we are going to be doing a breakdown of this. Now, what am I actually going to do? Well, I'm going to talk about initial thoughts about everything about Squid Game. Now, there is some spoilers in this as well. Obviously, if you haven't watched the show, then probably come back when you have, because, don't want to spoil anything for you guys. But what can I say about it? Yeah, sorry, just checking the feed was all right. So, what I'm going to say about it? I did enjoy Squid Game, I must say, and I am a fan of Korean horror or Korean drama. Now, I remember Parasite was a great film, Best Picture, director Boon Young-ho, yeah, great film. Now, I've got a lot of things to talk about with Squid Game, but my initial thoughts are these. I straight away watching this thought that after I watched it, so the whole thing if I watched the whole thing, what I initially thought was this. I thought this is a mixture of The Running Man, Battle Royale, a tiny bit of The Hunger Games, and that's about it, really. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen Battle Royale, but it's a mixture of them with Battle Royale, The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. But I digress. Now, it's all about hundreds of cash-strapped players accept a strange invite to compete in children's games. Inside, a tempting prize awaits with deadly high stakes, a survival game with a whipping 45.6 billion won prize at stake. Now, first thing I'm going to say is the cast. I was actually very impressed with the cast, especially Ji-hun, Lee Jun-jae, really huge fan of him, and I could see him playing in a lot of big roles in the future. Other ones, Park hae-soo, who plays Cho Sung-woo. Now, there's going to be spoilers, guys. That's the cop, obviously. Rama Vulleri, he was alright too. The frontman, he was okay. The salesman, actually, I thought his role was Bill Turgenis first. Yes. Bill, BT, let me know what you think of the series, but we are going to run through every single episode. The female characters, I must say, played a really good role too. So, all in all, casting was great. I was a really big fan of the old man. Here you go, Hideo Komura as Il Nam. Now, we're talking about spoilers, guys, so if you have seen Squid Game, then there's nothing really to hide. But let's talk about each episode and just break them down, shall we? So, looking at episodes, okay. Now, straight off the bat, I've got a few things to talk about, okay? So, straight off, people are like, how did you watch this, Daska? I had a few people asking me, how should I be watching this? Now, the debate is Korean audio, like the original audio, or you've got the dubbed, right, with no subs, or the Korean audio with subs. Now, look, I am a, purist when it comes to film, right? Now, the thing is, though, is something like Parasite, Run Lola Run, Life is Beautiful, these types of films, they really need to be watched in their native language, because dubbed is just, I don't know if you guys ever seen like something like Run Lola Run. I've just said it, Life is Beautiful. Um, you can't get the same effect. And there's something in media studies called reception context, which means how you watch a film or a TV show, in what environment as well, and whether or not there's any distractions, any prior knowledge about anything as well. So that's why when people say, "Oh, I didn't like Tenet," Christopher Nolan, I'm like, well, were you on your phone the whole time or what? Love the series, started super strong, solid middle, ended a little meh. I felt that I spent more time setting up for series 2 than ending series 1, but overall solid. Yes, definitely BT. YH, hi everyone from Japan. Hello YH. Now there's a bit of a buffering issue, but sorry about that. Now, I say this. I watched the first episode in full Korean, right, audio and the original language, and it was great, especially talking about this episode, Red Light, Green Light. And now it's a big thing on social media using the sound bite from the Red Light, Green Light game with the doll. I'm not going to try to sing it, but seeing all that, and then, having to read a lot as well. What I, obviously, we do with subtitles, but what I found was this. I watched the first episode in Korean, and I'm like, look, you can really tell the acting, the voices, obviously the actors and their dialogue it's a really sharp script. However, what I found was, because I was so invested in the cinematography and the production design of everything and the sets that they made, and I've watched the behind the scenes of this, and I tell you what, the amount of effort these guys put in, and they created these huge, huge sets. And like talking about the Tug of War episode, which we'll get to, they actually built a lot of this stuff, and the bridge stuff. I don't know if, yeah, the Tug of War scene and like all these huge sets, the big playgrounds they've done, it was amazing. So I did miss a bit while reading and trying to keep up with everything and keeping an eye on it. So I'm like, you know what? It's a shame, and I don't like doing this, but I did switch over to the dubbed English. Now, the first probably 20 minutes of the dubbed English, I'm like, this is really bad. But as it went on, dubbed movies, it's like watching Bruce Lee films. I like watching them in proper Mandarin or Chinese, whatever it was in back in the day. It's that original kind of feel for it. But with this, I think, and a lot of the dialogue comes from people behind masks. So if you're asking me, I would say you can go with the dubbed, but I think the first episode, especially Red Light, Green Light. I mean, look, this is rated 8.5, and it's the synopsis of it. Hoping to win easy money, Jihan agrees to take part in the first kind of game. There's some interesting there's a lot of Easter eggs and little clues throughout the first episode that we may have missed. Now there is something they've said about this initial scene. This guy here. Now the theory going around is that Jihan, he picked the blue one. Now if you pick the red, hold for 10 seconds, hold 3 steps forward, bang, see ya. Yeah, you could do that. But remember, you do have a timer, Con Papa. There is a timer. So you got to be careful with that too. You can't take too long. If I was doing Red Light, Green Light, I would take big strides, not running, obviously. So when everyone watches this show, they're like, which one would I survive in? I think I would survive in Red Light, Green Light, and I'm saying that, boom. Yep, drop the bomb there. So apparently Jihan, if he picked the red envelope and was trying to beat him with that, and he did, then he would have been asked to be a guard and not a competitor. That's a theory going around. But Red Light, Green Light was a great episode. I'm not going to rate every single episode. They gave it an 8.5. I'm not even going to say what I think it should be. I just think it was a really good start. I found people saying, it was a bit boring. It took a while to get into it. Well, that's what we call character development, building a story, building a plot. Remember, this is not a movie. This is a TV show. It can take its time, okay? And hearing that, it's a bit slow, well, I get that in a way, but also the fact that I actually applaud the filmmakers for taking their time to set this up, because it is something different, and it is a foreign TV show where the conventions of it are different to something made in the US. But anyway, I digress. I was a big fan of Red Light, Green Light, and just the shock value of seeing the amount of people they get shot dead in the first episode. I'm like, wow, we went from like, what, 400 people to like 200 now. So it was quite intense. Yes, it is violent, but you know what? There's a lot of violent shows out there, guys. You know, everyone's like, not everyone, but, you know, people, things you read about, oh, it's, you know, the gratuitous violence. I'm like, well, Game of Thrones had a lot of pretty bloody violence too. Just think of like the Viper and the Mountain. Won't even go there. So, red light, green light. It's a green light for me. It was a great episode. Next, we had the episode called Hell. Now, I think this is the lowest ranking episode on Squid Game. And the thing is, again, get people saying that, oh, the second episode really dragged on. Nothing happens. Well, look, there's a little bit that happens. They do that vote at the end where they all want to like leave. And it's interesting how Il Nam, the old guy, actually gets the chance to do it. And he does. And that comes back into it later on. So people are split on whether or not they want to keep going or not. And we get that whole tense suspense in the last like 10 minutes was great. The rest of the episode was character development and story development. So I can understand how from being on such a high, took 10 years for the director's script to go forward. So what's that tell you? Keep writing, keep sending scripts, and one day it'll be picked up. Stay positive and you'll get there. That's exactly right, Con Papa. And let's not forget that Forrest Gump, hang on, just replying to this. Let's not forget that Forrest Gump spent like 10 years with no one wanting to actually, watch it. So, wanted to make it. So, I understand episode 2, people may have found it slow. But you know what, guys? You have to have character development. You have to build your world, right? You can't just have every episode of a different game. And I think the problem is, no offense to anything, but I think the problem is that people are watching shows and just wanting, you know, action. So it's something like Parasite that wins Best Picture. You know, people are like, I'm not going to watch it because of subtitles. Give me a break. It is one of the best films I've seen in a long time. Anyway, I can understand episode 2 being a bit slow, but to me it was like, look, it's character building. I get it. Then we get into episode 3. How long have we been going on? 12 minutes. Yikes. Oh, it doesn't matter. Now, the man with the umbrella. Wowee. They've even made a TikTok challenge for this. A few players into the next round, which promises equal doses of sweet and deadly with hidden advantages. Meanwhile, Junho sneaks his way inside. So the cop guy sneaks his way in. Now, I'm just going to say this from here. As soon as this cop was looking for his brother, like we worked that out, right? I'm not just saying it to be a smart aleck, but game 6 when he throws the dirt in the dirt K in the. All right, Bill. Yeah. I picked it. I'm not being a smart aleck here. I'm not being all snobby, but I said I betcha that the guy with the mask, the front man, I betcha that's his brother, right? Initially, I thought maybe his brother is Jihan, but I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So yeah, the front man. And in the end, spoilers, it was. Now, this episode, I tell you what, this is where I think the stakes got raised, and this whole umbrella, triangle, circle, or star, and, you know, what do you pick? Well, I'll tell you right now, before they actually went to the game, with the person I was watching in my house, I'm like, I would pick umbrella. Bang. And they're like, why? I'm like, I don't know. Just like the umbrella out of all them. Maybe I thought umbrella means protection from something. So, yeah. Game 6, when he throws the guy dirt into the guy's eyes, why didn't he just run? You know what, Bill? I literally said the same thing to my wife. I was a roommate. Wife. I said, you know, when he threw the dirt, couldn't he have just ran and touched the squid's head? But then we'll get to that. I think by thinking back, the rules were, I think someone had to die. That's what I think, but we'll check. Alice in Borderland, I'm keen on watching soon. Made in Japan, more of a sci-fi Yes, I've had a few people at work tell me about Alice in Borderland a while ago, and I just didn't get around to it. So, I picked the umbrella. And then we find out it's the honeycomb, and you have to break out the shape from the honeycomb. And I'm like, well, I'd be dead. But our protagonist, Ji-han, our protagonist figures out a way to defeat it and wins. This was a really good episode, really high tension, and Bill, exactly. But part of the dramatic ending, talking about how he could have killed him, etc. Yeah. So, about this whole challenge of the honeycomb, I thought was very interesting, and we get glimpses of his mate. What's his name again? Is it Junho? Yeah, we get no. Who's his mate? Dak-soo, that's the bully guy. He plays a really good role, I must say. The other crazy lady, she plays a really good role. Where is she? And Jung Ho-yeon, Kang Se-bok, yeah, I really liked her role too in it. It's a shame how her story ended, but Ni Min Yao, is that him? Didn't have to die. I think they said it's either the winner of the game or the last man standing. Alright, I'll take your word for it. But yeah, he should have just done that, but maybe he did want... I didn't really want to kill him because, he killed himself in the end. So, this was a really good episode. The honeycomb was something different. Now people on the internet are like, that was a dumb challenge. I'm like, no, it was actually good because the first one was all violent and people getting shot left, right, and center. This one was like different. It's not so much about your pace or strength. It's about having patience and being able to do something like that. I would love to get myself a honeycomb and see if I could break open the triangle or the circle. But you guys tell me which one do you reckon would be. Meow, meow. Could be. So, Dak-soo, old man. No, the old man was Il-nam. I'm talking about his mate. Oh, the guy that he fights against at the end. That's who I can't remember. Anyway, good episode. Let's get through this, guys. Stick to the team. Now, 8.6. What was the other one? Doesn't matter. Okay. As alliances from among the players, no one is safe from the dorm after lights out. The third game challenges Ji-han's team to think strategically. Now, this one had two aspects to it. Well, three. You had the cop trying to find his brother subplot, but you also had the riots that were happening during the night, which was quite scary, and then the fact that they need to get into groups of 10, and then there is the whole Tug of War sequence. Now, a lot of people say this is their favorite episode, and looking at who was in their group, obviously you have the bully, as I call him, in his own group, and they win, yeah, but then you've got Ji-han's group, who is... you think they're the weakest team, but then Il-nam actually does give them the strategy of leaning all the way back, and the way they do that with the editing. Will you be my Gung Boo? That's a good one. So, you've got all these guys here. You've got the strongest guy, because we've found out that he's pretty strong. These two on the same team, and then you've got Il-nam, and then you've got the two girls as well. So you think, well, they're not going to win, but they end up winning with the strategy. I know that, but yeah, old man. True. Right. So, the Tug of War sequence, I think, was a really good episode. This one here, it really showed you again how working as a team can help, and the strategies behind Tug of War. Look, put it this way. What I had a question my question was this: imagine if Il-nam, who in the end we find out was the brains behind all this. What if, they got pulled over the edge? What would have happened there? That's what I want to know. Would they have cut the rope and put him to his death? No. Because another little theory was that... Actually, not a theory. If you have a look at the footage from Redlight, Greenlight, when the doll is actually looking at everyone, Il-nam is actually covered in a green kind of outline, which protects him. It's basically telling the robot, don't shoot that. So that's what's very interesting. I'll hold that last marble and not give it to you. Lol. Hilarious. Good that people are chatting, guys. This is what it's all about. It's all about that. So, yeah, I'll tell you guys my favorite episode when I get to it. But this was a really good episode. And again, from all this. I mean, how many people died from that? Again, very violent, but it happened. It's quite a gruesome show, but what do you do? Now, Jihan and his team take turns keeping guard through the night, and the masked men encounter trouble with their co-conspirators. Now, again, with this episode was a lot to do with Jun Ho, this guy here, and finding out more info. Another little clue here, series says 002. He's looking through the files. You notice how there is no 001. 001 was the old man. Now, this is an old book that he's looking through, but that's another clue saying that there is no 001 ever because 001 is Il-nam. Interesting. This guy gets in, he becomes a guard. So this whole subplot of him being a guard and this whole subplot, I forgot about all that. This whole subplot of the doctor actually like harvesting organs, I found to be a little bit weak and a few plot holes at times. Like, okay, so they're all watched all the time, yet how is that specific guard on that specific camera to turn it off? I don't know. I just found this whole thing with the harvesting organs thing a bit meh for me, put it that way. Now, moving on from that, I think, this episode just dealt a lot with that. So again, this episode and episode 2 were the weakest, but I'm not saying that they were weak. I'm just saying that, again, building story. So you had to have some sort of lulls in between. Do you think after the glass breach would have got medical attention or they left it to bleed out? Yeah, we'll get to that. I've got a few problems with that. So people complaining about episode 2, I've heard the similar things for, in the middle of the season, it's a bit slow. I think Bill up here mentioned that started super strong, solid middle, ended a little bit meh. Look, I think we're going to call this the middle of the series. It had really good solid middle with its Tug of War, but this episode did drag a tad because, again, I wasn't fully invested in that subplot of, the cop and all that, which is, in the end, I think that subplot's kind of wasted because the front man just shoots his brother. Does he kill him? Who knows? All right. Gung Boo. Players pair off for the fourth gang. Jihan grapples with a moral dilemma. Sung-woo chooses self-preservation, and Sae Byak shares her untold story. Let's just go through it. Sae Byak tells her story to that other girl. The other girl sacrifices herself in the marbles, which I think was quite sad as well. I really felt sorry for 240. It was quite depressing how that happened. This guy here, I really felt sorry for, is it Ali? Really feel sorry for what happened to him. Again, he gets shafted by Jihan's mate. I can't remember his name. Jeez. That was just, this guy's got a heart of gold and tries to help everyone and he's got a family and everything. And then for that to happen, where kind of tricks him, gives him the bag of rocks, I was just like, you dog. After what this guy did, he had one of the marbles left to win and he ends up getting killed. That was just ridiculous. But we are forgetting one of the most important and I think strongest. Actually, no, we'll get to that. This guy here, the bully versus his mate. You got him losing at the start, and then he goes, that's it, we're going to change the game around. They change the game around, he ends up winning. So that was like typical of this guy to do that, trying to not cheat the system. She actually gets out of this by not having a partner. Kim Ju-rung, I reckon she played a really good role. Copped a log truck alley like Final Destination. Yep, he did. Now, my favorite part of this episode, I just think the acting between, hang on, I'll tell you now. The acting between Il-nam and Jihan, right? These two guys in this scene specifically, and them walking around, and you've got Il-nam who can't actually remember what's going on. They're playing the marbles and he's winning, and then Jihan's got one left, and then he walks around and the timer's running out. This is so tense, and you know what? I really wanted Il-nam to live, and I'm like, please, what is there any way? But they're paired together. What's going to happen? Well, what happens is Jihan kind of like Well, you got Il-nam pretends that he doesn't pretend, but he said, well, here's what's interesting. Yes, he does pretend that he can't remember what he was doing. Then Jihan wins all his marbles back. I think Il-nam had one left, but he actually just gave it to him. And I can't remember the dialogue. If anyone can remember it, and they can tell me, but it was something like, what does he say? Sometimes, it's your friends, blah, blah, blah. I really wish I could remember what it was. I'm going to look that up here. But something that he said was just really stuck in there. And I'm not saying got emotional or anything, but I really felt sorry for Il-nam because, and Jihan, how he had to be put into that situation where he tried to trick him, and in the end he knew that he was getting tricked. Now there is a gunshot that goes off, and we think, well, Il-nam's dead, and we find out he wasn't, obviously, right until the end of the episode. But I think this is one of the stronger episodes. This and the next episode are episode 1, 5 and 6, no, 6 and 7 are pretty epic. 9.4, wow, okay, let's go to the next one. VIPs, 8.1. Now, I'm not going to keep going on about ratings here, right? But I think that this episode deserves more of an 8.1. But anyway, the masked leader welcomes VIP guests to the facility for a front row viewing of the show. In the 5th game, some players crack under pressure. I found the VIPs dialogue and the guys, those guys with the masks, to be way over the top, and people were like, oh, it's pretty weird, like their dialogue and the way they act. I'm like, you know what? You got to remember that this is, it's a foreign TV show. So I just think that these guys are representative of like that, what they're meant to be. Evil, millionaire, billionaire people here to like just have fun. And they're just meant to represent them being total, bad people. I can't really swear, but you know what I mean. So I didn't have a problem with their characters. They were sleazy people, and one of them gets what he deserved. But that's one little part. So you've got the front man showing him to the VIP room, and they want to watch what's happening in the next game. What's interesting, if you may have missed, is that the guy says, Korea has the best games. So what's interesting is that maybe, we know that by him saying that, obviously must mean that it is actually happening in other places around the world as well. So keep that in mind too. But the main thing about this episode was that epic game of the bridge, where you've got the panels of tempered glass and real grass. Glass. What am I saying? So, and the fact that they all get put into this room, there's 16 of them left, and they're like, okay, from here, pick a number. And then Jihan ends up going to number 1. I don't want to be first, but I don't want to be last. All the middle ones get taken. In the end, Jihan gets 16, and the other guy who we actually asked to get number 1, well, we know what happens to him. He's the first one that dies. This, with 16 left, this was quite, and you got this subplot happening here if they find the body. Again, the subplot here was okay, but I just think that the payoff was very limited. Maybe in the next season we'll find out more about what happened to his brother. Did he, he obviously won the games and he came back as a front man, but I just found this whole subplot could have been done a bit better. Now, she goes into the bridge too. What I really found about this bridge sequence was, again, this show was really good at a few things. Ideologies about greed, like money. Ideologies about like class, but also the fact that the human psychology behind things, where people are just dying, falling through these glass steps, and then the main guy here, Sibyak, is that his name? Can't remember. The bully just literally stands there and goes, well, I'm just going to stand here, we're all going to die, or someone else is going to move and take the next step because I'm not doing it. And, you're sitting there watching like, oh, if it was me, what would you do? Well, if you're this guy here or this guy here, and this guy, big guy, just standing there, and you're all going to die anyway, this guy played a interesting card with that. But, but, in the end, you've got that female character. I can't remember her name, but she comes to the rescue and literally grabs him and falls back onto the glass, and they both die in quite dramatic, but yeah, it's a pretty full-on scene. I did not expect her to die. Now, further on in this scene, you've got the guy that can look at the glass panels, and he can tell, which glass panel is which by like looking at it from the light reflecting. So that was pretty cool. I'm like, oh, cool, they're gonna get through. And then all of a sudden, bang! He's like, nah, no lights. Give me a marble. Throws one, and then he's sitting there trying to wait, and then of course, Jihan's mate Sung Woo. Hang on. Sung Woo just pushes the guy, which is really full on. I was not expecting that. I think the cop will come back. I only got shot on the shoulder. Also, I think that his messages got sent. Yes, Con Papa, we will get to that in the... Well, no, you're right. We should talk about that in the next episode, actually. So, VIPs, good episode. Very good episode, I must say. Now, moving on to the pointy end of the series. How long have we been going? 31 minutes. Wowee. Ahead of the last round, distrust and disgust run deep among the finalists. Junho makes a getaway determined to expose the game's dirty secrets. So, Junho sends the messages, tries to ring his cops. We've got that subplot happening. Now, this episode was only, 30 minutes long? So it was very quick. You've got that whole concept of the cop and all that, and his brother, the front man, he shoots him, falls in the water. There's that subplot. Then the other one, which I thought was really distressing, was the fact that, actually I didn't mention this, in the VIPs episode, where at the end, I don't know, for some reason, when the timer goes off, the bridge explodes and glass flies everywhere and it's all slow motion. I'm like, why are they doing this? It's like 30 seconds of slow motion here. And as the media teacher I am, I'm like, there must be a reason why this is definitely in slow motion for this long. Because, I mean, alright, it's a cool effect, but it's like just slow motion. You can do it for 4 seconds and it does the same thing. But I'm like, there's got to be some sort of reason why they've done this for this long. And showing the cuts that they're getting, I'm like, alright, I'm not saying that I thought she'd get stabbed with a glass shard, but I'm just saying that this is a way too long slow motion for this kind of effect. But then again, it is different to like a typical US TV show. That's why it's good to watch different things, guys. It's good to watch things from different countries because other countries make really good TV shows and film. And what's a shame is that we're all falling into this trap, like Martin Scorsese and David Fincher have said as well. Not getting into this rant, but no, I'm not getting into it about Marvel films and all that. Let's just enjoy what we've got. Frontman, real shame that Kang Se-byuk actually gets killed and murdered by him. Park Hae-soo, this guy here. Let me just double check. You'd really think... Hang on. Jihan. No. So, looking at that, how they have dinner and she's in pain. We find out more of her background. They grab the knives, so they're the weapons they're going to use in the next episode as well. But I really felt sorry about how that all came to pass. Now, what's interesting is that the use of mise-en-scène, it is a key thing that is taught to media students all around everywhere. It means that which is in the frame. Now, obviously there's 3 beds. This room started off with like 400 beds, just say. But what games will they be playing? These were actually all in plain sight, but behind the beds. So that's what's interesting. That's what's called mise-en-scène, what is actually in the frame. And what's in the frame here is that I can see everything here. We've got the bridge, we've got the marbles, we've got the Tug of War, and we've got the Honeycomb, and we've got Redlight, Greenlight, and we've got SquidGame, which is the last game. So, very interesting, and I really like how they did that. You can get a glimpse of things every now and then. That's why this show would be good for a second viewing. Do we have any questions on the... No, we don't. So, where were we? Right. So, episode was pretty quick, but it's a shame that it ends with Kang Se-byuk getting killed by Jihan's mate, which is really, really annoying and makes you hate him even more. Because Jihan was actually going to kill him when he was sleeping, but she said, "Don't, that's not you." And that line actually comes back, not back, but we understand that Jihan isn't that type of person, which is why in the last episode, he doesn't go ahead and actually killing him or stabbing him, right? So the final round presents another cruel test, but this time how it ends depends on just one player. The game's creator steps out of the shadows. 7.8 out of 10. You could see how some people weren't a huge fan of the last episode. I think it... Look, let's break it down. The actual game itself, like the last kind of fight scene, or the last game that they had, the actual SquidGame, I thought really worked out well. Going back to Redlight, Greenlight episode, probably great opening episode. Now what I'm asking you, can you make a list of the greatest first episodes of shows you've ever seen? Papa, that is a good question. First episodes have to draw the viewer in. The first episodes have to draw the viewer in. Otherwise, think about it, Papa, this would not be number one in 90 countries if that first episode wasn't any good. Think about it like this. Imagine the first episode was like the second episode, a whole bunch of talking and character development. I wouldn't really care, it doesn't bother me too much, but people want some sort of hook. It's like anything. It's like a typical TikTok. It's like a short film. You need to hook people in. Any film, guys. Ali Davidson. Okay. So my other good episodes, first ones, top of my head, Game of Thrones, great first episode. Breaking Bad, epic first episode. The Sopranos, great first episode, building that whole character of Tony Soprano. Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, the White Walkers, the Lannisters and what they do, and everything. The first episode of Game of Thrones is quite epic. X-Files is not bad. Seinfeld, meh, wasn't that good. Friends, can't be bothered with that. Boring first episode. Oz, the prison show, was a good first episode as well. So yeah, maybe I'll do that. But the Squid Game, talking about this, he throws the dirt in his face once he gets past the first part of the squid. And then why didn't he just run and tap his foot in there? Like what Bill said before, yeah? He said in the messages here, didn't have to die. I think that it's either the winner of the game or the last man standing. Why didn't he just do that? I don't know. Because he didn't actually want to kill his friend, but his friend ended up killing himself. So it was quite an ending, right? I wasn't too upset about what happened. I'm glad Jihan won and the way he did. The other guy killed himself. The start reminded me a lot of why I enjoyed Uncut Gems. Uncut Gems. What a movie. Kook-X, thanks for joining us. Uncut Gems, another gem that I think Adam Sandler definitely got overlooked for at least a nomination for an Oscar. But of course, you know what? I used to love the Oscars as a kid. And then recently, I just can't do it. And especially, like, off topic, Toni Collette for Hereditary 2018 horror film, not getting nominated for that was farcical. And also The Dark Knight in 2008 not getting nominated for Best Picture or Director from Nolan. Give me a break. I know that's many years ago, but the Oscars have kind of lost it for me. So yeah, anyway, Uncut Gems, great opening there. Now, so we've got Jihan, our protagonist, wins the Squid Game. Very underappreciated movie. Definitely very underappreciated. I did a review on Uncut Gems last year or whenever it came out. And I actually told anyone who has to run into, like, oh, have you got any movies you've watched? I'm like, yes, watch Uncut Gems. And like, oh, it's too intense for me. I'm like, you know what? That's good. It's got that high intensive drama that we don't get many movies like that. It's all either action or reboots, remakes, whatever. Another movie like that with that kind of intense drama is like things like Prisoners with Hugh Jackman and Jared Leto. Jared Leto? No, Jake Gyllenhaal, sorry. Joker, another good one too. Now I know everyone loves Joker. I've got friends that haven't seen Joker, and I've been telling them you have to, but they're like, oh, I don't like comic book movies. Joker was not a comic book movie by any means. It was fantastic. Anyway, breaking topic. Looking at this. Now, he's not happy with the way he's spent a year walking around. He's won all this money, and he's upset about what happened. He's guilt struck, right? But then he buys this rose, and then it says to meet him in this building, and we find out Il-nam, the old guy, is actually dying in bed. Sorry to put you off track. Nah, don't worry, Quick X, all good. Now, what's interesting about this was that when he was walking towards it, I'm like, oh, please, I hope it's Il-nam. I hope it's the old guy. I hope it's the old guy. And it is. I'm like, oh, he's alive. Oh, what happened? And then we find out what actually happened and what he is. And he says that, he made this game because he was dying, obviously, and he wanted to remember the times when he was a kid, and he wanted to do something fun, or his friends wanted to create something fun as well, which, again, I don't know. Look, guys, the ending, and then obviously they play that last game of, let's see if anyone will help that guy that's dying in the snow. And a lot of people are like, people are like, what's the point of this whole scene? What's the point of the old man and him playing that last game of, if that guy's going to win? The thing is, guys, is that, and what I'm not saying a lot of American TV shows, but the Squid Game was a very, very good show, good TV show, because it wasn't just, oh yeah, a bunch of people playing games. Like, I'm not saying Hunger Games wasn't good. Hunger Games is a TV show, is a movie, it's different. The Running Man, different. Battle Royale, again, these types of movies are very similar to this Squid Game. However, Squid Game's character and emotional kind of like an ideological way of describing what's happening in society is very interesting, and I could see media classes out there, like high senior classes, studying certain aspects of it. It is quite violent, so I would never do it, but yeah. But that whole thing about who's going to help that old guy, I bet you that no one's going to help him. But then Jihan's like, no, I think someone will, because he's got that heart of hope and trust in people, and we found out through the whole series that that's what Jihan's like. He was smiling at the start. He's like, you know what? I'm a gambler. That whole subplot with his daughter was sad as well, but we don't really hear much from him or the ex-wife at all. Only up until the very end when he sees the guy in the train station playing the game with another guy, and he runs to try and catch him, but he doesn't, and then he finds the card, and he gets onto the, where is it? He's walking towards the plane, and he calls the number up, and he gives him the name and date of birth of himself, and he's like, do you want to be part of the game? Now, what's interesting is this. There is another conspiracy theory that Jihan is actually Il-nam's son. Yeah, there's a few little clues every now and then. I think one of them is that his birthday is similar to the one Il-nam says in the Gung Boo episode, right? There's one where he, also in that episode where he says, I grew up in a place like this, and Jihan says, yeah, I did too. And then another one about how he used to get spanked as a kid. He goes, you remind me of my son, was the same. Now, I'm like, I think we're really we're reaching for that theory. But this whole ending of him ringing up and basically saying, yeah, I'll find out who you are. Did he actually say I want to be part of the games? I actually can't remember clearly, but a lot of people didn't like the ending. Yes, it leads and it tries to build up for season 2, and that's what it's there for, guys, because think about it. This has got number 1 of all time on IMDb. No, number 1. This is like the number 1 show on Netflix right now, and could possibly be the number 1 Netflix of all time, right? Now, the overall rating's 8.3. it was a great show. What am I going to give it? What is my rating for Squid Game? Well, I've just spent 45 minutes discussing it, guys. And I'm going to say that out of the 9 episodes, maybe 2 of them dragged a tad, 2 and maybe 6, I think it was. But apart from that, it is something that I highly recommend. However, if you're squeamish with violence, probably not a good idea. It was a Matrix 1 ending where he makes the call that he is coming. Yeah, Kook X, that is 100% correct as well. That whole Matrix 1 where I can't remember what happens right at the end of that. Yeah, that's right. You're actually right with that. Now, what's going to happen with the new Matrix is another one too. So, I wonder what they're going to do with that. I hope it's not another Force Awakens, put it that way. So, with this and with my rating, guys, look, I think 8.3 is a bit low. I'm going to go with an 8.5 out of 10 for me. I think it loses a bit for... At times, I could see why some of the subplots are a bit like the payoff it just isn't there. I just think that the cop and his brother and the frontman thing needed to be a little bit more in that. I don't know. I just think that was a little bit of an issue, and he said he wants to find out why they're killing people for nothing, and he will find out who's responsible. Yes, that's what he says. Thank you, Con Papa. So, again, leading on to Season 2. So, 8.5 for me. The brother arc lost the most. Yeah, the brother thing, I was just like, look, I get how we can't just have all about Squid Games, but that subplot of him trying to find out where his brother is, and then him being the front man, and then he just gets shot, I'm just like, well, that payoff was nothing. So, 8.5 for me. Now, back to who is responsible. I'm telling you right now, guys, those who are watching and those who will watch this, the second season, I don't know if you're going to be getting actual games per se. I think we will, somewhere along the series, but the majority of it will be Jihan trying to shut down some of these games, possibly somewhere else in another country. Now, I'm just reaching here. I'm just guessing. It just came to my head right now, actually. But how about this? How about Jihan tries to stop these games, but it's in a different country, and it's somewhere like the US, because I know Netflix are going to be like, you know what, greenlight this, and maybe they'll tell the director, hey, can you do the next series all in English and get Jihan to the US? Can you imagine that? That would be ridiculous, but it wouldn't put it past me to bring it to the US for some reason. It would be stupid, but yeah. Right. So, or maybe not. Maybe they'll stay in Korea. But I've just got a feeling that the next season is going to deal a lot with the cop coming back. He'll be alive. They'll try to shut it down. Jihan, I don't think he will be connecting with that cop at all. Be two separate things. It's kind of like in Inglourious Basterds when you've got Shoshana trying to stop the Nazis, and you've also got the bastards. It's like two people that want to do the same thing are going to end up meeting, if that makes sense. If you've seen that film, you'll know what I mean. So, wow, 48 minutes, guys, and I wasn't even playing Fortnite. I was talking about a TV show. I haven't talked about a TV show like this for a long time. I do miss TV shows like Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, The Sopranos. I do want to watch the Saints of Newark, the Sopranos movie, so I got to check that out. My next thing on my list, though, is to watch the one with Ryan Reynolds. Good Guy? Great Guy? What is it called? Free Guy. I want to watch that. And then I want to watch the Sopranos movie as well. So, without further ado, this is my thank you music to everyone. This has been quite an epic stream, guys. 48 minutes and 50 seconds and counting. Thank you to Bill, YH, Conpapa again. Bill, Conpapa. Kook X, thank you very much for everything. You'll get games, but also see the backstories of the workers, how they got there, how they are chosen, etc. I think, just very quickly, the backstories of the workers are people from when they play at the train station, that game with the red and blue, they're literally random people. That's what I think with that. The guards we're talking about. We'll find out more about the VIPs, but yeah, I just think that the next one may not have a lot of games, just so you know. So, I'm going to wrap that up, guys, yet again. that's it. It's been way too long, but you know what? It had to be done. Please don't forget to like, comment, and hit the subscribe button. Boom, so I can get to 400 subs by the end of the year. In December, it's going to be 3 years since Daska Discusses started. 3 years already. Wowee. Yeah, tell me about it. So join me on that, subscribe, but also you can follow me on Instagram. The Facebook page doesn't really have much action, but my TikTok account is just for quick comedy stuff. So yeah, catch you on there if you are interested. Thank you to all. I will see you guys on the next episode of Daska